Hello everyone. Hello Vinny. How are you doing, man?
Hi, Serradas. Thank you. And you?
I'm doing fine, and I'm very happy we have a special guest with us
Yes,
today.
big special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hey Esteban.
Hey everyone, this is Esteban Garcia. Really happy to be here, joining this great broadcast.
Thank you, Esteban. Thank you so much for being with us today. We are here to talk about some very interesting changes in the product, and we would like to start with the most interesting of them, which is a big change to the product. Which is about the title, isn't it, Vinny?
Yes, but I prefer the our special guest, please. First.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, during the Connect event, Microsoft announced that they will be changing the name of Visual Studio Online to now Visual Studio Team Services. So this is really interesting. I think that a lot of people, when they thought about Visual Studio Online, they thought it was a online IDE. So this makes that difference, or make sure that people understand that this is not an online IDE, but it is basically Team Foundation server on the cloud. It gives you the a place where you can collaborate with your team and do all the things that teams do, right? So Visual Studio Team Services was born a couple of weeks ago. It's very interesting.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Esteban. I am uh, a live person who believed that it was an online ID when it first changed because it was born under the name Visual Team Foundation Services. It first
Yes.
was Team Foundation Services, and then it became Visual Studio Online. And once its name changed, I thought, whoa, you're going to have an online IDE. I don't have to install anything anymore. And it wasn't that. So we have Team Foundation Server as a service. And I really thought the name was not compliance with what it was serving. No?
Yeah, and it's interesting that they did keep the Visual Studio name at the front, right? So
Yes.
and it is part of the Visual Studio family, but it is, it shows you that it actually is, a service to where you're able to share your code and track your work and ship your software and test your software,
Yeah.
but it is not a Visual Studio, sorry, a browser-based IDE. There is some lightweight code change functionality, but again, shouldn't be your primary IDE. That's where other tools come in.
Yeah, Vinny
Yeah.
said a couple days ago that Visual Studio name in the beginning of the name is just only
Yeah.
because the product family,
Yeah.
nothing else. Yes?
Yes. And
Yeah,
Visual Studio as a service, Azure. And important, my important tip is VSTS no more Visual Studio Team System.
Yeah.
Is now Visual Studio Team Services.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What do you guys think about having VSTS again? Some of the critics was based on this short name VSTS, which remembers as the first name of Visual Studio Team Foundation Server, which was Visual Studio Team System. Esteban, what do you think about that?
I think it's interesting. I've seen just in the short time where they since they announced the name with my clients, I'm seeing two names coming up. I'm seeing some of them use the Team Services name,
Yeah.
and some of them call them VSTS. And it's interesting to sort of to go back to the roots, I guess. But in a sense, not everyone will probably remember. I mean, this was 10 years ago. I guess 7 years ago since they changed it
For sure.
from TS. So, but yeah, it's I don't know if it was done by on purpose or just a interesting coincidence. But
Yeah.
either way, it's interesting to see.
Yes, I really think only few of us used and still remember Visual Studio Team System. So all these new users we started using since last year, for example, don't even know that Visual Studio Team System existed. So it may not be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you go to Bing or you go to Google and you enter VSTS, you still find some of the older stuff, which I'm sure is going to be rolling off.
Yeah.
With time as more the new VSTS takes more content around the new VSTS come online, or the renamed pages get indexed, you'll see it more. But it is interesting to see some of the older stuff showing
Yeah.
up.
For sure, for sure. I really think so. Vinny, do you want to complete
Uh,
with that?
uh, Only service is cloud.
Yes.
Yes, services. And the most important, in my opinion, is the strategy on product. And uh, VSTS, okay, Visual Studio Team System, but Visual Studio Team Service represents the new new age of Microsoft, in my
The new
opinion.
strategy of the
Yes,
company. For sure, Microsoft is going cloud. Microsoft has a new strategy to have more and more services, and I really think that this name represents this new strategy. Yeah.
yeah,
Sure, guys. So let's go and start with the other items, which is for sure important and interesting as this one. But we got lots of things to show
sure.
these guys who are watching this, right?
Okay, let's go to the features.
Okay.
On this feature, I will talk about extensions and the new marketplace. On Connect Event, Microsoft introduced a new extension model for Visual Studio Team Service. Extensions enable integrate experience to team services, adding new capabilities and integrate existing services. Extensions can contribute hubs, custom controls, context menus, builds, release tasks, and more. This is a new site from Visual Studio Marketplace. On this tab, Visual Studio Team Service, we have some features to use in your Visual Studio account. Example, if I include this new extension, I click install button, and choose your Visual Studio account and confirm the respective installation. ILM Rangers Group deliver 11 new extensions on first wave to Marketplace. The main highlights are work item visualization and state model visualization. On work item visualization, you can visualize all hierarchy structure between work items. You click on respective work item and use visualize option. Clicking and visualize respective child's work item. Example, I have one PBI and 3 tasks, and you visualize our hierarchy here. Other highlight feature is the state model visualization. On this feature, you can use to show all states on respective item. Example, work item task. There are a new, active, close, and remove state, and you show all integration between these states.
Well, let's get started with release management public preview. It basically is release management as a service in Visual Studio Team Services. The well-known release management on premises with release management server and deployment agents. You now have it on the cloud under VSTS. Well, let's take a look at how it's working now. First, let's go to our Visual Studio Online. And let's go to this new tab called Release. As you can see, we still have a preview icon here. Okay, so now I have here a release definition. Under a release definition, I can specify many things. I can specify the environments. I can create multiple environments using Azure Cloud Service or Azure Website Deployment. Until now, I am already able to copy some things to virtual machines and so on. But the basics are cloud services and websites. I need also to link this release definition to a build artifact, as well as we did on release management on premise. So we needed to navigate under the package that the build delivered to release it. Okay, we can manage configuration. It can be a continuous deployment. What does it mean? If we want, we can trigger a new release as soon as a selected build finished, and we can specify at which environment is the target of this continuous deployment. Okay, we can define the name of the release, and we can see, as well as hosted build, we can see the history of changes. Okay, I prepared a demo here for you guys that uses this release definition. We have here a website called vsosprints.channel.cloudapp.net, .azurewebsites.net, and we are going to change this string to VSO Sprints, and we are going to perform a continuous deployment. So let's do that. I'm going to change this string right here. I'm going to Team Explorer, and I'm going to check it in. Okay. We now have the change set 42 ready to build. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go there and build the artifact that is linked to this release definition, that is build sprint 91. Let's go to build. Let's see the builds. Anything queued. So let's queue a new build. Okay. So until we wait for that, let's talk about the package management preview. What does it mean? You can now have like a NuGet server to manage your packages. It will also be compatible with other packaging systems over time, but until now we have a compatibility with NuGet packages. Okay, what does it mean? instead of you having a NuGet server on premise, you can count on VSTS to be your package server. Okay, how does it works? Let's go to our VSO here, or VSTS. You can create feeds of packages, so you can have multiple feeds of packages, and you can separate by permissions or by context your packages. Okay, once you have a new feed right here, you can separate by who can read or who can contribute. You define the feed name, and once you have a feed, let's create a feed here. You have the URL that you can add to your Visual Studio, okay, and you can also publish it to your new feed. Okay, what I did with this, it's fully compatible and integratable with the hosted build on VSTS. Let's take a look at a new build that I created here to show you how it works. I used the build Sprint 88 that we already used in the past sprints. Let's edit and see what I did. This build basically builds a solution which has only unit test project. Okay, I wanted to create a NuGet package from this project we have inside the solution. So I first run the command line NuGet spec to create a new spec file from the project, and then I use this file to package my pack. So I search for any new spec files under my source control, and I created the package with that. Once I created that package, I searched for any new package inside my directory structure and publish to this internal feed URL. What does this internal feed URL means? It means these package server or package feeds inside VSTS. If you look at this information icon, you can see that this is the URL of a NuGet feed hosted in this account, this Visual Studio Online. So you do not need to provide any credentials right here. And also you can publish these new package files. If you still didn't know about this task, you can publish it to an external NuGet feed. Okay, so you must provide authentication information. Okay, so these build steps are available under package in build tasks. Okay, so you have here NuGet packager and NuGet publisher, right? Well, let's get back to our build, which is already finished. Okay, and let's take a look at our release definition, which should have started. Okay, so we have this new build, Sprint 92 release, 91 release. Okay, this is based on the build 2015 1130.2. Let's check and be assured that this is the build we started. Okay, so Sprint 91. This is the latest build, which is associated with the changing the string commit. Okay, so let's get back and see the release. Okay, we can confirm that this is the release that is associated with our continuous deployment. So let's take a look at what it shows us. It looks like a build task, a build conjunct of tasks, or a build action. So we have summary, we have environments, we have these tabs over here, and we can check the commits. So we have the commit 42 changing the string right here, and associated with the release I can see what changed since the last deployment, right? So I can see the changes right here. I can see the configurations used, the general information, the artifact that was associated with this release, so I can have all the informations that I need to know right here in front of me. If I had more than one environment, I would see the status by environment. So this first environment was succeeded, but we have a second environment that is still pending. Okay, so as well as with the continuous deployment, the site might be changed. So let's take a look. And it is on. You can see here that our changes were automatically published to our Azure web app. Okay, this is a very new, very nice and interesting feature, and we really think that the product might be very evolved after this new feature deployment. Okay, so let's go and talk about the Test Manager extension. Well, the Test Manager extension is a great new because it changes the way you use the product. Until now, to have these, let's go to the home of our project. To have this tab right here, the Test tab, which where you can plan your manual tests, plan your deliver tests. You need to have an advanced MSDN subscription. Okay, so you needed to have this level of subscription to have this tab and to have this capability of managing manual tests. From now on, this tab became an extension under Marketplace. Okay, so if we go here, we can have more information about that. Okay, so under Visual Studio Team Services Marketplace, you can buy these extensions to plan our manual tests. So you can plan, you can author your tests, you can perform browser-based test execution. So the ones who are familiar with Test Manager and test execution using Test Manager will feel very comfortable with browser-based version. You can perform exploratory testing using the other extension for the exploratory testings. So you can perform and manage exploratory testing, use the Test Manager extension. And you can see the tracking of your tests. You can create charts to manage the test execution and the test planning. Okay, so you can have a centralized reporting to manage your test execution, right? So now you can still have a basic subscription, a basic MSDN subscription, and you can buy this extension only for those who want to use this extension and want to work with this extension. It makes the service more cheap, so you will not have all other features from an advanced MSDN subscription, but you'll be more objective and you'll have only what you want with that. Okay, so let's take a easy look right here and see what we can do. We can add test plan, we can add test suites, right, as well as we can do in Test Manager. We can go and see what happens in our test suites. We can manage test cases, edit test cases, create new test cases using the test case work item form or the test case using grid, which is very nice. Okay, and you can manage your runs. So you can see here the results of your tests. Okay, and this is the Test Manager extension.
maybe the main feature delivered on Connect event is the code search extension. This extension allows you find all code in across multi-projects and repositories, and this feature is enabled to TFVC and Git. See the example. Example, this extension enable a search code text box, and we'll click on code. I have my solution here, and I will find customers expression. Click here and type customers. Search code find 10 expression with customers, and example, I click here, I have customers, and I will find this respective definition. I will put on these options. Search code allow the history file on version control. TFVC or Git example, I have a history file. I can compare this file, and I can use annotate expression.
Now I'm going to show you the test results in build feature that was enabled in this release. This allows us to get a lot more information about tests that run during our build, including how our test results have changed between one build and the next. So let me show you how this works. I checked in a web application that has some test cases associated to it. I created a new build definition, so if I click on build, you can see the new CI build definition that I created. It's a simple build definition. It builds, then runs a test, then it indexes sources, and then copies and publishes the build artifacts. I've already run this build once, and I've configured this as a CI build, so as I make changes to it, we will see new builds being kicked off. So let's go take a look at the results for this first build that I ran. If I double click on my build results, I can see on the right hand side the new test results section of my build results. I can see that 3 total tests were completed, none of them failed, which gives me a pass percentage of 100%. And it took 1.49 seconds to run these test cases. If I click on detailed report, it gives me more information about these tests. I could have also gotten there by clicking on the test tab at the top of my build results. Again, this gives me the same information. If I would have had any failed tests, I would see them here at the bottom. So let's make our test fail. Here I made a change to one of my test methods to make sure it's going to fail. So instead of doing an assert.isNotNull like it had before, I've changed it to assert.fail. So I'm going to check in this change, and that will automatically kick off a new build. You can see it queued right here in VSTS. I fast forwarded through the build step, and you can see that my test step failed. The build is completing now, and as soon as it completes, we'll be able to see the test results for this build. So now that we complete it, let's go take a look at the build results. Now, on the right hand side, you can see the test results section shows that I had one failed test, and it's a new failed test. So this means that the last time that we ran our build, we had no failed tests, and since the last time we have one new one. If this test would have failed the previous time, you would see it showing up under existing. Now we can see that 66% of the test cases are passing. Let's click on the test tab, and I get a lot more information here. I can see that I have one new failed test case, And here on the right hand side, I can see the actual error message. So I can get more information about the test case. I can see that it failed on line number 26 on my home controller. Now let's kick off this build one more time so you can see the differences with the results, and you will see that this test case shows up under existing. As expected, the test case failed again, and now here you can see that we have one existing test case that failed and no new ones. So we know that although we have one failed test cases, they were not introduced during this build. Now I can go to the test tab again, and from here I can create a new bug. This bug will have information about the test case that failed and the build when this test case failed on. So now I can save this, and now I can go and fix this bug. Let's check in this change, and let's associate it to the bug that we just created. And check this in. This will kick off a new build, and now let's take a look at the build results once the build completes. Since we fixed that test case, our build completed successfully. We can go take a look at the test section, and you can see that 100% of our test cases pass. So this new feature allows us to get a lot more insights about the test cases that run along our build, gives us detailed information for any failed tests, and we're able to create bugs right from the build results. First, I'm going to talk to you about the new browser-based exploratory testing extension. If you've used Microsoft Test Manager before, you may be familiar with the exploratory testing functionality that it has. It works great, but you can only use it if you have MTM installed on your machine, and that machine can only be Windows. So, before going into that feature, I must mention the new Visual Studio Marketplace, which is how you can access it. The Marketplace includes a few different extensions for Visual Studio Team Services. To access it, you go to marketplace.visualstudio.com. From here, I can click on the Visual Studio Team Services tab, and I can start scrolling down until I find the extension that I'm looking for. There are a few different ones: Build and Release, Code, Collaborate, Integrate, Plan and Track, and down here we have Test. The extension that I'm looking for is not on the home page, so I'm going to click on See More. Here I can see all the different extensions available for testing on Visual Studio Team Services. You can see that exploratory testing is down here at the bottom right. Clicking on it takes me to a page that gives me a lot more information about this extension. This is going to install an extension on my Chrome browser. So, clicking on the Install button, this takes me to the exploratory testing preview page under the Chrome Web Store. So let's think about that. Since this is a Chrome extension, you're able to install it on any operating system where Chrome runs. That's right, you are no longer limited to running exploratory tests on Windows. So let's take it for a spin. I'm going to click on the Add to Chrome button, accept the warning, and you can see that in the top right of my Chrome browser, it tells me that my exploratory testing has been added to Chrome. So now I want to start using this extension. I'm going to click on it. First, it's going to ask me to connect to a Visual Studio account. So let's give it my URL and click on Next. It's going to ask me to select one of the team projects that I want to connect to. Let's select Sprint Demo. Select the Sprint Demo team and click on Save. Now, my exploratory testing extension is connected to my VSTS account. Let's start exploring the Microsoft Store. So I'm going to click on Start Session, and let's browse to microsoftstore.com. From here I can start taking a look at things. So maybe let's go at the Xbox games. Let's take a look at Call of Duty. And maybe let's say that I find an issue here. I want to take a screenshot of what I see. And let's put an arrow to here. Maybe I'm going to say that this price looks to be incorrect. And then click on the check mark. And then I'm going to also create a new bug because that price just seems to be wrong. And then click on save. If I click on this button here, it shows me my session timeline. I see that I started my session a few minutes ago. I created a screenshot. Then I created a bug. And then once I'm done with my session and I feel like I'm okay with what I've done, I can stop the session. All that information now is tracked in my VSTS account. So let's go take a look. So from here, I'm going to click on work. Under shared queries, I'm going to select all bugs. So now I can see the bug that I created showed up in my Visual Studio Team Services account. Price for Call of Duty appears to be incorrect. If I open that bug, you can see the screenshot that I took, including the annotations. Scrolling down, you can see system information. This captured information about the system. So it sees that the version of Chrome that I was running, my resolution, my operating system, and a lot more information about my system. And although I could do this before, I could only do it with Microsoft Test Manager installed on my machine. Now, again, I can do this from any computer that has Chrome installed on it. So this no longer limits me to only running tests from a Windows machine. I can really do it from anywhere. There's a lot more than you can do with this extension. This is just a preview of it. So now go to the marketplace and download it and give it a try.
Well, guys, that's everything for today. I think that's lots of things. We show you lots of changes, lots of news from the product. I would like to say thank you, Esteban, for being with us today again.
Again, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing any comments that anyone has.
Thank you, Esteban. Vinny, do you like to say
Yes,
thank you?
and thank you again, Esteban. I feel honored. You are my Pluralsight inspiration. Always. And see the next sprint and see new videos on VSTS or VSO sprints. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yes, guys, just one last thing. If you that are watching us still here with us, please give your opinion. Should the name of our program change? Should we change to VSTS Sprints or should we keep VSO Sprints? Please give your opinion, follow the hashtag, and thank you so much.